right? Pure chaos, y'all. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're diving into another one of those 2014 board meetings to really get a feel for Dolton politics, the environment, the vibe, the whole tone these meetings had back then. As I've been watching these older meetings, it's becoming crystal clear that most of the chaos I'm seeing in these early gatherings was mainly because of a newly elected mayor and some fresh trustees, specifically Tiffany Henyard, Robert Hunt, and Stan Brown, aka the infamous dynamic trio. Now, even though these old board meetings got kinda wild and chaotic at times, I can definitely see some progress over the years when I check out the later meetings with the previous mayor. Of course, not the ones with Tiffany Henyard at the helm. Watching all these board meetings has just made it even clearer to me that Tiffany Henyard knew exactly what she was doing wrong as mayor, but chose to put herself first over the village and its residents, especially when it came to making sound financial decisions. Speaking of financial decisions, that's exactly what they were arguing about in this meeting. The Board of Trustees, mainly that trio, Tiffany Henyard, Robert Hunt, and Stan Brown, were pushing hard to cut people's salaries and switch some full-time jobs to part-time roles, all under the guise of saving money. Be real, it's hard to buy that excuse when at the same time they're spending on things like fireworks and even giving themselves bigger stipends to use however they want. So, let's check out a bit of the back and forth about cutting jobs and lowering pay for some of the village employees. I'll jump back in after that.
Right now we're talking about making people part-time. We cut in every department, including your department, but we cut it because we cannot afford it. We cannot afford it. Just what's that? That's all you want. You cut yourself. Speak for yourself, you know.
Right. The fact of the matter is, all of these cuts, not all of them, but a lot of these cuts are directed towards me.
It's not.
There's no mayor. There's no mayor. There's no mayor. There is no mayor without an administrative assistant. There is no mayor. None without administrative assistant.
From what we heard, it sounds like they're trying to eliminate the mayor's administrative assistant full-time position and replace it with someone part-time. Now, I'm no expert on what positions are absolutely essential in the mayor's office, but common sense tells me an administrative assistant should almost always be a full-time role. Right? Just from the Google definition alone, this seems like a crucial job that keeps everything running smoothly. Google says an administrative assistant provides vital support to make sure the office or organization operates efficiently. They handle all sorts of tasks: clerical work, scheduling, communication, record-keeping. Basically, they're the backbone of the office. They manage the day-to-day operations and free up other staff to focus on more specialized jobs. So, like we just read, administrative assistants provide essential support. They are the backbone. They handle daily operations, not just every now and then. So honestly, I don't think it's fair or smart to try and downgrade this role to part-time. And it's not just any assistant role, it's the mayor's top aide. With all that said, it definitely feels like the dynamic trio were on a mission to make the mayor's time in office as tough as possible, even with the previous board of trustees under Tiffany Henyard's administration. No one ever tried to cut her staff's hours or turn their roles into part-time jobs. Plus, the fact that the newer board gave Tiffany all the resources and funding she asked for just shows they wanted her to succeed. You can throw all these shots and dishes at us, but then expect us to want to work with you. Yes, we do want to work with you, but when the hate kicks in, that's when lies start flying. And that's exactly what this board of trustees has done. If we didn't want to work with you, we wouldn't have passed 98% of the budget you proposed. Let's be clear, most of them ran on my ticket. When they ran, they got their seats. To follow the mayor's vision, so you can say all the things you want and throw all this shade, but the truth is, the budget got overspent by $15,000, and that was on inauguration. Now that I'm in this seat, people have their own hidden agendas and alternative plans to basically do what they're doing now. But guess what? No good deed goes unpunished. Right, I thought you were trustee for 8 years. You'd understand what we're dealing with. We're all watching you the same way because you did the same things. So, was it wrong when you did? Because honestly, all we had to do was work together from day one. From day one, I ran alongside these folks. From day one, I put Jason and Kiana on my ticket as trustees, not knowing they were already backstabbing me right from the jump. If you can't see yourself as a leader, if you think we're just blindly listening to other people, let me stop you right there. Most of us are older than you, have more responsibilities than you, and we're not just listening to others. No, we're listening to ourselves and doing what's right and what's wrong. They chose to back and support a self-serving, egocentric narcissist because you want it your way. When I give an order, we're supposed to follow it because I am the leader of this community. And let's not even get into the $1,500 or $2,000 spent on security detail on the block where you live. All of that is reality. The village of Dolton and all its residents were left picking up the fallout from Tiffany Henyard. Now that I'm in the seat, folks have their own hidden agendas, their own secret plans, basically doing the exact same thing they're doing now. Quick disclaimer, when I throw words like narcissist or sociopath around about Tiffany Henyard, that's just my opinion, not a professional. That said, let's get back to this board meeting. You call the mayor's office, and the administrative assistant answers. When your assistant or secretary, whatever you want to call them, starts handling a problem on Monday that might not be resolved until Thursday or Friday, what happens if you only have part-time people? The work gets shuffled between part-timers and continuity disappears. And you want to tell me who to hire? What person I should feel comfortable with, qualified, enough to handle these situations? You want to put part-time folks in here making $10 an hour? That's exactly what you'll get at $10 an hour person. We get calls from the governor's office. We get calls from Washington, D.C. Calls from all forms of government come through here, and they have to be answered. But that's what you want to do. Put a part-time person on the line to answer a call at 8:30. In the morning, that might not get resolved until 5:30 that same night. Are you telling me that in all of Dolton, all the suburbs and cities, there isn't one retired person or someone with experience and know-how can come in and answer the phone? Because all you seem to think this job is just answering the phone. It's clear the mayor is super upset at this trustee suggestion, and that trustee Sabrina Smitchy suggested maybe hiring someone retired to take calls, basically downplaying the importance of this position. But like I said, this is an administrative assistant position, and the mayor needs someone qualified to handle serious situations, as he mentioned. Calls come in from all levels of government, including the governor's office. So putting some retired person in here who might not have the energy or get up and go to make sure everything gets done right, cross T's, dotted I's, that's just not going to cut it. It's shocking how they're downplaying what the mayor needs to keep his office running smoothly. Because when it came to Tiffany Henyard, no exception was made. She paid top dollar for her staff. Keith Freeman was making good money despite not even having a background check. This is not how you run things, right? We only found out about him when the agenda dropped. We talked to him for 20 minutes on a Sunday, and still, no background check was ever completed, Evan, though we passed a rule to require it. We only had his resume during that brief conversation. This mayor, he was a trustee for 8 years. I ran for trustee in 2013, became the youngest trustee in Dolton. I sat there for 8 years. And let me say this was never brought before the board the right way. It always amazes me, looking back at these meetings, how they nitpick the mayor so much, gave him endless grief, made his job nearly impossible. But then when she got in that seat, it was her way or the highway. Trustees saying they weren't even allowed inside Village Hall. WGN's Patrick Elwood was out in Dolton reporting tonight, saying the mayor literally locked the trustees out of Village Hall, forcing them to hold their meeting in the parking lot. No wonder the residents are shaking their heads in disbelief. Into the Village Hall, you will get arrested. The village board was on one side and Mayor Tiffany Henyard on the other. And this wasn't the first time she pulled that stunt. Trustee Edward Steve and 5 others called a meeting 2 days ago to appoint their own legislative attorney, trying to push their agenda forward. They gave the required 48-hour notice and posted it officially. Reason they say the mayor and her village attorney have blocked their every move. Sitting elected officials were threatened with arrest. That's the reality we're living with. Maybe a retreat and sit down are needed. But what good comes from that if you only want it your way, with no room for compromise? Tonight, they say they were locked out and forced to hold their meeting with a quorum in the parking lot. We had a quorum. We had the clerk. We had a board meeting outside. But let's keep going because the mayor and trustee Sabrina Smith go back and forth like this a lot, with heated arguments throughout these old board meetings. This one's no exception. Let's watch. Okay, send emails, do memos, but do you realize the person sitting here right now, Miss Phillipsy's still learning? Even after a year or two, there's always something new she has to figure out. So putting a part-time person with no experience in this role, that'd be dumb on your part. Dumb on my part. How long do you think it takes with no experience? To find someone qualified for this job, there's a screening process, an application process. When you cut her from the budget, who's going to answer the phones while we search for 2 part-timers? What really stood out to me in this back between the mayor and trustee Sabrina Smith was the clear disrespect toward him. For example, when she says, "It would be dumb on your part to hire someone without experience." Well, obviously, he wouldn't hire someone unqualified. He was just emphasizing how important it is to hire a full-time person with the right experience so nothing falls through the cracks. But Sabrina's using this as a chance to insult him. There's definitely some bad blood there. Maybe they just don't like each other. But something's definitely brewing. Now, let's hear Trustee Tiffany Henyard jump in on this argument like usual. Hold on, Trustee. When we put someone down there to answer the phone, we're shortening manpower in every other department. Either we're making the mayor talk, and there goes Trustee Tiffany Henyard, the entrepreneur, the go-to at Tiffy's Good and Soul Food, riding around. Giving her 2 cents, she offers simple advice to the mayor about what they can do while searching for a replacement for that position. Basically, who's going to answer phones and handle the tasks that come in? Her solution: just treat it like when someone calls in sick pool, someone from another department to cover the job for the day. Sounds easy, right? That kind of advice is always easy to give when you're not the one who has to deal with the fallout. As the mayor pointed out, pulling people from other departments puts a strain on everyone else. If you've ever worked in any business as an employee or a boss, you know exactly what I mean. When someone calls out sick, it affects operations and morale. The people left behind have to pick up the slack, and that's tough. This just shows Tiffany Henyard knew nothing about running a business, hence her failed burger joint tour about leadership. As a leader, you never want to put your team under unnecessary stress, making them work extra because others aren't there. Sure, people will call out, that's life, but in this case, the board is creating problems by cutting a full-time job before even having a replacement lined up. All right, moving on. You think it's funny? You think it's funny to neglect residents and give them subpar service? Listen, but you want to put $10,000 into fireworks? Yep, that's Tiffany arguing with the mayor saying to part-time people can handle the job. She's downplaying the huge hardship. This will put on the village staff if they cut the mayor's full-time administrative assistant position. She even argues when the mayor says, "This will affect residents," telling him residents have nothing to do with it. I found that hilarious. If you've seen any of Tiffany Henyard's meetings as mayor, you know her go-to emotional play was always, "I do everything for the residents." And she constantly said the board of trustees don't care about the residents. Y'all need to actually work before you talk. I don't see y'all around town. I don't see you at the gas station or grocery store. See you doing nothing but running your mouth. She always had something to say. When are y'all going to do the will of the people? When are we going to work together? We don't have to like each other, but we need to work together for the village. But at the end of the day, I'm still producing. Y'all are the ones costing the village money, but y'all point fingers at me. All right, let's keep moving. The PA system was supposed to be fixed, but even a recommendation to get the PA fish system repaired got turned down. Next up was the water department supervisor at Lena Williamson. The board's majority recommended cutting her salary from nearly $60,000 down to $40,000 plus benefits. That's a huge hit, especially considering she's been with the village for 15 years and lived in Dolton for 23. Talk about hiring local people with longevity. She's the perfect example. Yet, despite her years of service, the board wants to slash her salary, supposedly to save money. Meanwhile, everyone except the board members themselves seems to be on the chopping block. This says a lot about their priorities now. While firing or cutting pay for a long-time employee usually looks bad, the mayor pointed out that the water department has always had problems. Anyone who's followed these meetings knows the water Issues in Dolton are ongoing, with residents getting incorrect or even overinflated water bills. One woman's story is particularly striking. She bought her dream home, only to discover years later that she owed a massive $2,400 water bill from the previous owner, even though her closing documents showed the house was paid off. She's fought the village for years, filing complaints with multiple authorities, and even had the police called on her during an attempt to get answers. Now, she refuses to pay until she gets a refund. This raises a critical question. What is the board's plan for the money saved by cutting someone as experienced as the water supervisor? Will they invest in new water meters, technology, or upgrades to the billing system? Unfortunately, major decisions like these often lack clear explanations about how they'll benefit the village. Plus, the fact that the same water department staff has been there for so long, yet these issues persist, suggests complacency might be part of the problem. Maybe the board wants new blood to shake things up. Of course, employees can only do so much with the resources they're given, so it's not fair to place all the blame on them. Interestingly, Trustee Tiffany Henyard once pushed hard to improve the water department by changing shutoff days so residents wouldn't lose water on weekends, while she framed it as helping residents avoid hardship. It seems more like a political move ahead of her mayoral run, something she could point to as an accomplishment, even if the ordinance didn't really solve much. During board meetings, she passionately defended residents against unfair water shutoffs, saying the water department needs help and calling out the frequent turnover of department heads. However, when she criticized the department's work, the staff's reaction is from someone sitting right in front of her showed just how disrespectful her comments were. No one should be punished for missing a payment by a few days, and cutting vital staff or slashing salaries without a solid plan can only lead to more problems for residents. That's the real issue here. So, that's it for today. You found this interesting? Please like the video and subscribe for more.